I started just now, okay? I think.
Alright.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, so welcome to the Daybreak Podcast. Remember when I said I would make an episode 12 and then never again? Then I lied, I'm sorry. Or am I, really? Today I brought 3 translators with me, just so you know. People have been complaining, quote unquote, no one has been complaining actually, but still. People have been complaining about not having intellectual members of society in my podcast. So here they are. I brought them in. I brought them against their will, of course. And we're here to talk about translation matters and other stuff that might come in the way, but basically translation and controversy, because otherwise the chapter is not spicy and nobody will watch. Obviously, right, guys?
Makes sense.
So,
Lots of controversy. We're going
that.
to be. Oof. It's going to be so bad. Not really, maybe. Who knows? Maybe it will be.
okay, so first of all, we have Zakamutt, the greatest translator the West has ever seen, hailing from Egypt or Zambia, was it? One of those 2 countries.
Yeah, you know, Zambia or Sweden land, we're basically the same.
Exactly. Then we have Sugio. He's from what, Sugio? Antarctica, Argentina, that area, right? South America. Everything is the same country.
The middle of the universe. Very center.
Oh, so you're from China? I see. The Middle
Nice.
Kingdom.
Well, that's actually a good joke. But no, I'm from Panama.
Base. Actually, I've never known a
Nice.
translator from that area. I'm not gonna lie. And then
I mean, there's only like 3 million, maybe 4 million people in here, so I don't think
Yeah,
we've
4
known
million
anyone.
people on the canal, basically.
and you're the only visual novel translator. Wait, are you a translator of visual novels? Well, a question for the ages or for later. And last but not least, we have Yossarian. He's a new promise, right, guys? Is he a new promise, or has he been here for long? Let's call him the newest promise in the visual novel translation scene. He's not only handsome, he's like smart. He knows 10 kanji, which is more than what anyone would ever be able to say.
That's right. Thanks.
Yeah. So Jos, I don't know if we should introduce like our projects or not, but like
Sure,
I mean,
bro.
B has done a lot of like official translations and done Akagoe and the unimportant Moege, and Jos has been working with a fan translation for the fan disc for Konosora, which is Snow Presence, and
That's right.
apparently it's waiting on image editing right now. So
Yeah.
if you didn't know that, this is like totally official progress information right now. And Sugio, I don't know. I've heard B said that he works on manga, but I don't know if he's done VN stuff. So maybe now we will get an answer to a question.
No, I've personally never had the pleasure, or maybe mispleasure, I should say. I don't know which one is the official version accepted in here, but I haven't had the opportunity, so I'm sticking to manga for now.
All right. Well, it'll still be useful. And I mean, the manga standards tend to be a bit lower, but so maybe it's a good thing you're not in the VN business, because you know people can get very serious here, and then they machine translate the visual novel and think that that's better. But you know, people aren't very smart.
But we are to be replaced by the blessed machine, Zakamutt. What are you saying?
Surely we will be soon.
This is the last podcast before everything ends.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah, it's true.
how long have you guys been doing this? I know Saka is like, what, 70 years old, so he's been doing this for a long time. But what about you
Yeah.
guys?
I think it was about a year and a half ago now. But I mean, obviously it was hard to get work at first, so
Ooh.
I haven't done that much. I wouldn't say I've done a year and a half of actual work, but obviously I've done the thing with Snow Presence. I've also done some work with Diesel Mine on a really high quality Nukige. That's up on Steam, so that's
Nice.
cool. But not much else. Bits and pieces here and there.
Yeah. So when did you start learning Japanese? If we're going down this path, could be interesting.
Me, Christ, what was it? Like 6 years ago, I think, 6-7 years. But like the first year, I didn't do much. I bought like some textbooks and
Yeah.
read like a bit of them every other day, maybe every 3 days. But then I don't know, 6 months to a year after I bought the books, it just like snowballed.
Nice.
Really enjoyed learning Japanese. Yeah.
Okay, now for the Reddit question. What is your knocking level, bro?
My what level?
Your knocking level.
Knocking.
1, 2, 3,
Yeah,
4, 5.
JOP.
Yeah, Nihongo Norikushken.
I've got an N2. I've got an N2. I could pass M1. I could
Okay.
definitely pass M1. But I've got an N2.
Okay, base. Then Sugio, how about you, dude? How long have you been hating yourself?
Well, that's actually a very interesting question. Hating myself, I think, before I ever even got into anything regarding
Ooh.
weeb media, but
Oof.
I really
That's
started
nice.
picking it up a notch. Like maybe about 8 years ago. I didn't start picking up Japanese like maybe 3-4 years later. So I've been learning for like maybe 4 or 5 years.
All right.
If I had to take a Noken test, well, 自分で言うとはなんだが、
Oh,
N3 ぐらいは届けると思うけど、N2 も結構いけるかも。
Fuck, I think he speaks better than I do.
True.
that's kind of base, Sugio. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, if you say it in
Hey,
Japanese,
you're
I'm gonna
balls.
trust you're an N2. You're an N2 Akago, you know.
Nice.
それはどう
Um.
も。
Oh my god. Okay, Saka. I will ask you as well, but instead of Noken level, I will ask you a Kanken level. You know, because we are one step above, of course.
Yeah, you did this. I mean, to be honest, Kanken involves like a lot more, which I think I couldn't do, even though I've done
Speaking
writing.
Kanken, right?
I don't think we're speaking actually, but I think
Oh, is it a
we're
different one?
writing and understanding like sayings, proverbs, and be able to write kanji and stuff. Which
Oh, there's
I'm
writing.
probably-
Yeah.
yeah, and I mean I'm probably better at writing kanji because I started out doing remembering the kanji 1, which and I did like actually write all the kanji, unlike some people. So I have some proficiency, but I haven't really done a lot of writing
Yeah. I know
after
the
that.
rules
so-
for writing kanji. I wrote like 50 or so kanji because the textbooks I bought were the Japanese from Zero books, and they do a bit of writing. It's
Okay,
fun,
okay,
but I
okay.
think it's a complete waste of time.
Yeah, I mean it can be. It's kind of. I feel like there is some use because you get a better understanding, like the components and radicals, and
Yeah,
Japanese
yeah.
people do describe kanji in terms of them, so it's not useless, but
Yeah.
it's also not that useful. But it depends. It can help you understand slang terms like doha for tada, which is just the components of the tada kanji, but you split them up into 2 katakana more or less. But it's not like a huge deal.
Yeah, I like that kanji that has 3 women radicals in it.
Yeah,
That
the
means-
good old. We can call it kashimashi, but we all want to.
Well, coincidence.
Yeah.
Saka's favorite kanji is is the memeshi one, right? So.
I don't know if it's
Same.
my favorite kanji, but it's gonna be kind of fun.
Okay, what was your first kanji actually? The first one you ever learned?
I mean, being real, I think like probably like either like Ichi or like Ichi. I'm guessing, but I don't really know. I think Ichi is literally the first one in
Really?
Isaac, which makes
That's probably
sense.
the first one most people learn, right? It's just a dash.
Yeah, it's not particularly difficult.
You learn
you know,
it's a kanji.
That's actually a very interesting question because over here I live in what's basically the de facto Chinatown. So
Nice.
Oh,
there are quite a few kanjis. Kanjis, they're actually loaned from Chinese. So quite of the more basic ones look the same. So I would have said if I hadn't lived in here that like maybe Ichi was the first one I learned.
wow.
But I would say like maybe like actual that I can see that okay this is Japanese like Mizu or maybe Hito or something like that.
Okay. What about you, Yossarian? What's your first kanji?
Well, fuck, I don't know. It was probably Ichi. Yeah. I could literally go and get the textbook right now and find out, but
What
it's
the
probably
fuck?
Ichi.
Dude, my first kanji was the Nonoshiru kanji. Like, what the fuck? So, am I-
What the fuck?
Yeah, I know.
What?
I know. Nonoshiru.
Legit?
Yeah.
Like this
No.
boy? Oh my god! I'm tapping it in chat here just so people can understand.
Yeah, that one was my first kanji.
That is-
Yeah.
Goddamn.
Yeah, it's because
I
I was...
mean,
先生にたくさん罵られたかな。
Maybe that.
No, it wasn't because of that. Okay, fuck you. First of all, and second of all, it was because when I first started studying 10 years ago or so, like I used an old Taikin guide, and the first kanji that he showed you to teach you what Japanese was or looked like was nonoshiru. So I just loved it.
Why?
That
Why?
actually makes sense. I guess.
That's
Doesn't make sense.
I don't know.
I think that was just high level gatekeeping, really.
Yeah.
No. I mean, just like, what's the first word you learned? Because mine was jigai, for example. So I don't know.
Okay.
God damn.
For those who don't know, jigai means suicide. Okay, so.
At very least self-harm, but probably
Yeah.
extended to like suicide. Yeah.
You only learn Japanese for the funniest words.
True as fuck. Man, I don't know. It's kind of funny. Like I remember, like starting out as a wave in 2012, and like I learned like a few hiragana from just reading like the subtitles on the screen for like starting roles. Like I think I read like learned like tsu and no or something because it was like easy. But then eventually one day, the autism just struck me. I was like, okay, I learned to write all the hiragana because I'm bored. Not just all the hiragana, all the katakana too. But I did it from like this thing's called Ixrek's Guide to Japanese. Not recommended. I don't really read his guide very much, but he had a computer font table of the hiragana and katakana, and I just copied from that and like made up my own stroke order and just like practiced that until I could write it. and that was like my initial. I like later went back to it and learned stroke order, which changed how I wrote some characters, and we look a bit better now. But that's basically like I literally just learned kana because I don't know, I kind of felt like it. And I mean, it was probably a bit of a goal even then for me to learn Japanese, but I wasn't that serious about it until later.
Chills. I'm having shivers as I listen to you, Zakamutt.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I mean, some people are like, oh, I can't learn the hiragana in 2 months. I'm just like, I'm bored. Let's learn all the hiragana. Let's learn all the kana.
Oh, look.
How long you been learning Japanese, Zaka?
Yeah, I think the kana stuff is from like 2014-13, and then it's like RTK for like 1.5 years until 2015ish, and then I start actually like. I've read some Taikin's grammar guide, and I started actually reading VNs, and like formally, I feel like I start learning at that point because I'm an immersion supremacist.
When was that?
Yeah.
Yeah, 2015 is
right.
when I really started. I feel like.
And then
Yeah, you
look
got
at
like
you now.
4 years on me or so, I think. Makes sense.
I think I started 2 years after you, if I remember correctly. So I must have
Yeah.
been like in my 9th year or 8th year right now.
I think you've tried harder than me, to be honest. It's just that I'm smarter, so some things I'm still better. But
I mean,
you might be like in general better than me right now. It's just that my brain is.
I don't think so.
know.
Well, no, it depends. I guess it depends.
It really depends.
Yeah, there's
Like
certain skills
you
are
definitely
superior.
get. Yeah, you're gonna be better at like listening to stuff and like speaking, which I'm like not as good at. But I'm just I don't know. Like I've been pretty low intensity learning, like maybe 1 hour of immersion per day, half an hour even. It's just that there were so many years that I've been doing it that ultimately it just adds up, and I get decent.
Yeah, I mean,
But there are lots of people better than me still. It's just
it's
I
not like
don't know.
you're aiming for a career anyways. That
Yeah,
requires
it's
to know.
true.
So like it's a different stuff.
Yeah.
I do aim for that. So that's
You
Yeah,
have
it's true.
you got the second highest rank on the Moe server, right, Zaka?
Yeah, it's true. I feel like since I don't have like the first, I'm not really that good, because there are quite a few people that have it. But obviously, that's not very frequent vocabulary. I do have a second highest.
I've been trying every week to do that fucking grammar quiz to get just the rank below you.
Oh yeah.
Oh my god. It's
Did you
actually
get
driving
the
me fucking
vocabulary
insane, man.
for it?
But yeah, I've done the vocab. Yeah, the vocab's piss. But like the grammar, for some reason, I don't know,
Yeah.
man. I'm actually having to study N2 grammar again. I feel fucking lame.
Damn.
Yeah,
Grammar
it's
do really
interesting.
be the bane of everyone, isn't it?
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, it kind
Final
of it
pass.
wasn't
It really
really
is.
for me in comparison. I feel like it didn't take me that long to pass that. Partly because I had been grinding it before, I imagine, because it was like a thing to get ranks. You could literally just get a rank by just doing the grammar quiz.
Yeah.
on
Alright.
CMW before, but also because I
Wait,
imagine
wait,
what,
so
like
you got your rank when it was easier to get that rank.
no, like they reset all the ranks before that, but
Okay,
I
okay,
did
okay.
get better. I have the same rank as I had then, so I'm
Alright.
like one of the few people. Almost everyone else dropped down, and I think that maybe that's because like I don't do Anki or SRS, so like
Yeah.
in comparison, like I don't remember as much vocabulary readings, but
But
I don't have as
do
much like
admit
an
if you don't
overhang
do,
of vocab.
you do admit if you don't do Anki, you won't have as good vocab.
Yeah,
'Cause
I
you're
will agree.
always
Like,
putting down Anki, man. You're always saying shit about Anki.
yeah, because like I don't think that vocab that is that much, in my opinion.
I mean,
Like you
Anki
said it
is
yourself,
reference.
you can't pass like the N2 grammar as much. And
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not that much better than you, but like still, it wasn't that hard to me. Like
Yeah, yeah.
years ago, etc. So I feel like if you do the SRS, you kind of get a vocab overhang compared to your grammar, and I don't know. That's
That
not
makes sense,
necessarily a
that makes
bad
sense.
thing, but you know, it's
Oh.
I don't know.
Someone says grammar feels easier in Japanese compared to learning words. If you compare it to languages like French, where grammar is more difficult. I don't think that's the case. I think grammar is pretty complicated, especially
Yeah,
when you get
grammar's-
to the
Yeah.
higher N1,
Yeah, like-
N2 ranks. Yeah.
Yeah.
Japanese grammar is way harder than French grammar.
Oh yeah.
Damn.
Way harder.
But like maybe French grammar tests would be kind of hard for you too. Like you don't know it because like
I think
the
most
thing
European languages are pretty easy, right? I mean,
yeah, I mean, but
Uh,
you know these tests are always about like what's the most appropriate, which is also the annoying thing about like when you do it in Japanese too. It's not about like okay this could make sense. It's like okay, but if you really think hard in the depths of your Nihonjin soul, which of these sound most natural?
Yeah, I mean, it's
And
just
that's a
yeah,
significantly higher ask. Like,
I'll say this. Japanese grammmer. I like what Kyodoli says about Japanese grammar. That it is actually like very logical. Like, I wouldn't say
Yeah.
it's easy or simple, but it makes sense, right? Like, it's really interesting when you learn another language and then you sort of turn around and look at your own language. Looking at English with like, now I've got the perspective of seeing another language is like fucking hell. English is a absolute shit. You know, it's a mess, right?
yeah. But I feel like if someone were to do like the Kyodoli approach for English, you might start to think that it's a lot more logical to begin with, because I don't know if anyone does that. Japanese might have like an easier way to do that because it is built of these like stones like people established before, and it can feel very logical because of that. But I don't know if it is. Like I think I would have a middle point on that and say that there's a very logical view of a language which you can have, so that's really useful. But you also have to realize that this is still a model of a language, and basically every language is actually kind of a fuck that people made up as they went along, like very literally. It's not like anyone was planning the language.
Yeah, sure. But I mean, compared to English, where English is such a hodgepodge of different influences, whereas Japan has been like isolated for so
Yeah.
long, and
Yeah, it's only got
Latin-
influences from Chinese, Korean,
God.
Japanese, older Japanese, and of course English.
Yeah,
But it's
okay, yeah,
relatively
Ja-
it's relatively clean.
Ja-
I have
Japan
to
has
admit.
Japan has been isolated. Thank you, Tokugawa. Very cool. Would do it again.
I mean, I don't think it was isolated from China at that point. Was it? Actually, maybe it was. I can't remember. You're the history nerd here, I think.
I don't know.
Are you?
I think B is the history nerd was what I was trying to say, but I don't know.
Well, yeah, but more about that's more of a recent thing, thanks to the recent reads that I've done with Miburo and Chushingura
Okay,
and
that's
all
fair.
of the in-red titles. By the way, do not read Gikei. It's a shit game. Like, never again, bro. So bad.
Gikei. What is that again? Like the
Gikei?
full title.
Ginka?
That Gikei is the story of Yoshitsune, but they made a video game of it, like the guys of Inre, the visual novel makers, and it's
Right.
so bad, bro. It's actually terrible. Like, it's literally just opening a history book. Like, bro, if I wanted to read history of Japan from like a book, I would just open an actual book, not read that game. Like, holy moly, so boring, bro. At least it
Okay,
had
I-
voice acting.
Okay, yeah, I'm like linking it here for the very many chatters, but I'm sure we'll see this.
Thank you, Saka.
But yeah,
Very
this
cool.
one's definitely all right. It does literally have Geek in there, so I suppose it's very easy to see now.
Yeah, I'm
But
pretty
I
sure
don't
if you
really
just
know.
look it up with AskGK in the BNDB search, you're gonna. It's
Yeah,
the first thing it's gonna throw out.
Yeah, I mean it's just Genpei Ryodan. So it's like the story of the Tairas and the Genjis. So
yeah.
you can
Okay,
you can,
I
you can
see.
find that up eventually if you look up hard enough, I suppose. It's just that there's barely any
Okay.
info of the Heian period as well on the internet. Even in Japanese sites, it's all obscure as fuck and it's just difficult to find shit. So when they explain facts, cool bug facts about the Heian Jedi, it's just amazing, bro. Yeah, like
Okay.
10 names and 40 retainers, and what retainer does A, X, and Y and
Oh.
where. It's like, nah, miss me, dude.
Oof.
It's too boring. Where are the
Th-
waifus?
Now I'm remembering. Now I'm remembering this one VN that I tried to read with Hata, but it ended up being like half like stupid citations from academic publications and like unhuriganad historic names that you have no idea how the fuck to read, and it's like really autistic, but about like the origin of like the tea trade and coffee trade in Japan or something, also the sugar trade, I believe. But it was so autistic. Eventually, like also the hooker we were using was like it just broke. So and then we were like, no, we're not reading any more of this. Fuck this shit.
Sugar trade with the sugar daddies, dude.
Yeah, it's Amai Shida. The title is actually cool. Unfortunately,
The
it's,
game is not as cool, isn't it?
yeah, we acquired it for
Unfortunate.
cheap. I mean, it's like a dojin gear.
Okay,
But
actually,
I cannot recommend this. But if you want it, you can ask me. So you can try it before you buy it.
on a more positive note, okay, so Yossarian and Sugio. I know Sakamutt's big favorite visual novel is it's Maitetsu, but what about you guys? What's your favorite visual novel?
I don't know if I can pick a favorite. I can find my tens and
Yeah.
bring up my VNDB. Hold on.
Sure, give me
Yeah,
your
maybe
things,
I-
baby.
Okay. But by the way, I would like to object. Clearly, my favorite visual novel is Musu Maker, not Maitetsu.
True. Okay. I Sugio, yours is
Yeah.
Muramasa, right? I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, it's like, well, I would kind of be disappointing the Moblo fans in the audience if I had a Kuro profile pick and pick Muramasa as my main. So I'm just gonna go with the safe option here and say it's actually not alternative, but the actual fandis, like the one that I haven't been finished for like 10 years. Well, those the day after ones, because there's like a whole lot. That's actually where the profile pic comes from. There's a whole lot of character development, but it doesn't get covered in there, unfortunately, until like maybe the mysterious last entry in the series that who knows when it's gonna get released, but yeah.
Mudlock's huge,
I mean,
right? How many
Muramasa is-
things are there?
well, it's not actually that huge. I mean, there is a whole lot of fan discs, but they like cover like a whole lot of like small episodes or maybe side contents that aren't like actually directly connected to
Sure, yeah.
alternative history
The main
or
series is
maybe
what, like
actual-
3 games?
Yeah, you're gonna get the extra unlimited and alternative, but extra and unlimited are basically the part of the they were usually in the same game. Actually, if you are like a really old fan of the series, you would know that extra and unlimited were in the actual same release. You had
Yeah.
to actually clear 2 routes, which I mean they're fairly obvious, but I'm not gonna cover them here. But as long as you cleared those, you would get access to the unlimited part, and then from that you could go over to alternative. So it's more like 2 games.
Yeah.
I mean lengthwise too, because
Alright.
extra's not very long. Maybe a little bit
Yeah.
boring, but not long.
Everyone complains, from what I've read, about the first one, or the build-up in the first one, just being like tons of slice of life before it gets good.
Yeah, I mean,
It's like, okay,
I think
It's a bad
also
game.
like part of that is that what we got was like the X-Rec translation for here we get our JOP elitism moment, but well, we're gonna break it now because there's a new translation here. Like I saw some like examples of translations like between the two, and the improvement is notable. I don't know. If you already like acclimatized yourself to like really wooden, like bad literal translation of Japanese, then maybe it's fine. But Marvel of Extra, as Extract did it, was oof. Just oof.
Right.
And the translator
Yeah,
who
I
did the
mean-
official is very good. Like Evan, he's good as fuck.
Oh,
I
yeah,
think
it's
he
true.
now works almost full time for the Empress or Seven Seas, one of the two. But
Yeah.
something on those lines.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
sad.
but-
He was screwed. He was screwed by like Marvel, like companies doing translation. Where I mean, not to get
Well-
political, but let's get political here and say that he was kind of screwed there, in my opinion.
I met with the creators too. Everyone has fault in that fucking drama. So I mean, it's not that he was
True,
screwed.
yeah,
He also is kind of faulty for being screwed in a degree. So to a degree. So,
Yeah, I'm sure he has an ego, but I don't know. My impression is that it's kind of mostly on the fault of the people
Look,
trying to get localized,
you-
or slave wages and the being bitches in general.
I mean, you know how Japanese people are very itchy when it comes to like noticing rebellious attitudes or a slight ego compared to before. Then that's the issue that happened. They just noticed this small spike and it just went out of control. So yeah, but there's just a lot of stuff that happens. So whatever. Let's just say that shit went down and it's never gonna happen. TLDR.
Yeah. Actually, by the way, if you like get really OG, wasn't it like they only released Extra and Unlimited, and then people actually had to wait like a year or two
Oh yeah.
until they could release an alternative, which is kind of funny too.
And the game is huge.
If I recall correctly, it was kind of like an update that they put out for the extra part, and like at the time people weren't even aware of what was going to happen. I
Dang.
can't imagine the ride that people got taken for at the time. Really, it would have been really interesting to be there and see everything unfold. Like whenever you go and watch some sort of really controversial anime that has like, okay, yeah, it's that episode, dude, but you were actually following it actively, and then when that episode dropped, you were in the internet and you talked to people and you got to actually see how it felt. That would have had to been why it's got so many fans even so much time later. And even though they don't put out anything in, like, if it's not gacha, they're not gonna release anything in like ages, decades.
Oh yeah.
Ages. Haha.
He did the funny, guys.
You see what I did there? Yeah, I did the
Yeah.
funny.
Did you play like Schwarzesmarken? By the way, I think B did, so you might have some
Yeah.
common ground there.
Yeah, I have.
Yeah, like I actually want to wait until the full release, so it's I mean not the full release, like the actual maybe re-release to see if they
there's a re-release
maybe-
coming up.
This guy thinks there's gonna be a
mean-
release, bro. Do I break the news to you, bro? I work with
please.
I work with Anchor, right? As a translator. So
Ooh,
you
bad
want me to-
news.
I mean, I have
I
a full
just want
patch.
to leave out my copium tank.
I have a full patch in my computer. It's just, is it ever going to come out? I don't know.
Maybe not.
That's probably not the case, but
Oh well.
But it's there. It exists.
I mean, you could always just stick to the OG version in RUGP and have fun with that engine.
Oh yeah. I mean, look, if it doesn't come out in English through my hands, well, it probably won't come out through my hands, but maybe the Russians do at some point, because the Russians don't give a flying fuck about releasing stuff in English or in anything. They don't care about the repercussions, because legality over there is it just doesn't work. So yeah.
It's just a glorified third world country over there.
Yeah, pretty much. So there you go. I mean, it may come from the hand of the Russians, but I wouldn't even count on that. What I can tell you is that the Russians did use some of the English assets to work on their patch. That much is true. But
I see.
but that's pretty much it. The rest.
Well,
So you have no
something to
faith in the Indonesians? What if some Indonesians do it? It
Then
could
I
happen.
will.
No,
Nah, bro.
It's like you see, Indonesians have their fame, but that's on the translation side. I do not think they have that many skilled coders willing to tackle a project that involves the
that's true.
RUGP engine because it's basically a black box kind of engine.
Nah,
Yeah.
I only know two people who can touch that shit. One is a Spanish. The one works in the Spanish translation effort, and the other one is Misha, the guy that basically works for. I think he works for Anchor to some degree as well, and for the English/Russians. So yeah, those two are the only ones. And that's pretty much it in the world. I would say maybe a third one. Maybe there's a third one. This guy called Frost that I got to know some time ago. But he would, he knows the engine, and he probably knows how to decompile it and everything. But that's it. He would never work on it for personal reasons, I guess.
I see.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure there's actually quite a few people with the know-how or maybe the skills to be able to crack in and actually get to know the engine. But since Anchor might not like it too very much if you actually try to, according to them, steal their work. Well, no one's gonna pick up the flag. So.
Okay, Yossarian, tell me your tens. I've been waiting, dude.
Oh yeah.
No,
So
okay, I went on a tangent,
that's
so.
cool. There's only technically 4 or 5. So cross channel, Fate Stay Night, Superheavy, and Baldur Sky.
Oh my god,
Those are my 10s.
you actually have
Oh, you
3
like-
schizo picks. I cannot believe this.
No, they're good. They're good VNs, man. They're quality VNs.
It's so
Nice,
over.
nice. We
Actually,
have
that's
we have some good schizo
Do you
representation
know
in the
what as well? I read the English translation of Fate Stay Night, and I still thought it was a 10
dude.
out of 10.
Which
Damn,
one?
son.
It's a really good concept, and the actual story. I don't care how well it's written. Like the actual story is really fucking good. Like there's some great twists. The themes is good stuff.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I did like Fate Stay Night, even in the extract version, which, by the way, I suspect I would maybe like better than the retranslation, because at least it doesn't make every sentence twice as long as it has to be.
I don't know. I didn't remember. I like everyone shit talks the Fate Stay Night English translation. I don't remember having any issues with it, but maybe I don't know. Maybe I was just used to shitty translations. I just didn't pay
Nah,
any attention.
You don't get it.
Yeah.
All this bad new
Yeah,
is
it's
good.
the soul. Yeah, it's soul.
It's so
Nah,
Sugio
dude.
goes like, oh yeah, but we'll have its soul.
Oh my god.
The soul,
Nah.
it cannot be helped with soul.
No, Sugio, bad
No, you
translations are not so, bro. I'm sorry to tell you.
But I liked it. That was the first
Oh.
VN I actually read Fate Stay Night.
Yeah, it's pretty understandable. Like I was definitely more forgiving, but I feel like I still like had like part in me to like recognize that kind of thing, even as like I was getting used to it, but like it never quite like got supernatural for me. Like I do have like the weeb language translator still in me, where like I can read that kind of thing and just like understand it quicker than someone uninitiated would. But I don't know. I also get like straight away like the translator like autism that just tells me that I don't
Yeah.
like this.
I think if you actually in translation, you can tell when something's been like too literally translated, right? So
Yeah.
that will affect it. But also, I think, from my perspective at the time, maybe, I think if you're reading a foreign work, sometimes you kind of expect it to be a bit overly literal, and if it reads clunky, you're just like, well, obviously it's a translation, you know? You sort of kind of expect that. I think sometimes, I don't know, like without getting into the liberal versus literal stuff, I think sometimes it almost should read a tiny bit clunky if you're gonna keep stuff. Not that much. I'm not gonna like go too far in that, but yeah.
What
I
do
don't
you
know. It
mean?
didn't bother me.
What do you even mean by that?
Yeah, like I don't know.
So it
Like,
just,
okay,
it just
so
sound,
you know-
it should sound cringe from time to time. Is that what
Not
you're telling me?
cringe. It just should be a bit. Not should be a bit clunky, but sometimes it's gonna come out clunky. Like I don't know. Like a what's it called? Like if there's a phrase in Japanese, like a saying, right? Do you translate that to a similar English saying, or do you keep it in the Japanese form, even though it sort of sounds weird when it's
Yeah.
translated, right?
And I mean, very occasionally, like it's like the best solution to, I think, to keep it like more Japanese. But that's usually when like it depends on like it on the form and like a lot of the nuances of it. So like I can see that sometimes, but I think usually people that do that just haven't tried enough, to be honest.
Yeah,
And I mean, I understand not trying. I mean, I'm lazy, but and also like people have to eat and like translate a character instead of like spending like a whole day trying to find a better solution for this dumb word
Yeah.
thing in the visual novel,
Yeah,
which I
it's
think
like,
is. Yeah, which
yeah,
I think is like fairly prominent, like in the translation companies. I mean, they pay better now, but they're still not great pay for like, especially it being a freelance job and the expertise you actually need to be good at the job.
yeah, it's like sometimes when you just find, like you said, really interesting
Yeah.
sorts of slang or maybe proverbs or stuff. Like
Yeah.
sometimes you just have to go full fanfic mode in there. It's like I'm actually reading right now. As a matter of fact, I'm actually reading a Baldur head title. I'm reading Baldur Heart right now,
Oh, nice.
Mm.
and
I like Baldur
yeah,
Heart. It's a pretty good name.
Mm.
yeah, I don't know. I feel it's like smaller Baldur Sky, if that makes sense.
Okay.
That's not hard
So,
considering
but-
how big Baldur's Sky is.
I mean, yeah, it's like Baldur's Sky is awesome, but it's also huge and it takes up like 2 releases, so it's definitely not hard to make. It's not easy to make something like that in just one disc, especially when
Yeah.
it's got the least amount of characters out of every release. But yeah, so I was saying, at one point they actually used a proverb. Let's see if I recall and don't completely make a fool of myself on stream. It was something like
Prepare to laugh, guys.
if no, it was something like, if you get in the way of someone else's love affairs, you're gonna get kicked by a horse. And I read that literally, and I was like, what the fuck? There aren't even horses in there. But then I actually had to do research, and oh yeah, 他人の恋事に巻き込まれば or 邪魔すれば馬に蹴られる. It was actually an actually proverb. So if I was the translator and I had to figure something out to put that in English, I would have just given up, like straight up, like, no, I'm just gonna go full fanfic, man. I'm sorry, this does not make sense in English.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, I mean,
just-
I would like maybe try to make up something that like sounded like vaguely profound in English, but maybe didn't have the kick with a horse thing, because I don't know, it doesn't really make sense in English.
just localize
But-
it to if you eat tacos, you fart, dude. Easy.
Maybe not, because it's going to be like specifically love affair related, right? So you have to think of something that actually is related to that.
Like,
I don't know.
maybe I would have tried to come up with something more closely related to the characters involved and the circumstance they were being actually talked about. Like, maybe, I mean, of course, I'm not gonna go into spoiler territory here, but maybe something with what they were doing at the moment would have been able to suggest some sort of similar equivalent in English that would have worked in there.
Look, the best
Maybe.
equivalent would probably be, or a good equivalent would probably be, fly too close to the sun and you'll get burned. It's literally that. So, I would just say something
Okay.
similar to that. Fly too
Yeah,
close
I
to the
don't know.
sun and you'll get burned.
But when you have like a visual novel that does this, but then there's also an insert image of a man being kicked by his horse, and also like one of the characters' names it has a kanji that has a horse in it, just to make it a point. And then you're like, what do I do?
Okay,
I mean,
yeah.
I don't see why you would just keep it the same. I mean,
I think I might keep it the same, but like do a little dance, like
you
as
don't even
No,
make
you
it
have
the
to,
same.
no, you have to do
Actually,
the
Japanese.
say.
the
Maybe
translator
something
note
like that.
thing.
Translator knows. Ooh.
I mean, do you need a translator? Or you can just say like, we Japanese have a saying. Okay, it's not it's not supernatural to say, we Japanese have a saying, but it can work. I think. At
Yeah,
that point.
something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, definitely not a translator note. Please. mean, it's better
Yeah.
to leave something that's a bit mysterious.
I mean,
than,
Yeah.
I've
the
seen-
I
audience
mean-
needs to understand absolutely everything, right? Like they're engaging with foreign media. They shouldn't want to understand everything. It should be a little bit exotic. Like that's the point.
Yeah,
Not
you see, but
always.
one thing about that is whenever you're dealing with actual official, like, big name stuff, you're actually making a product, and people that are buying your product expect it to be fitted to their needs, and sometimes they're gonna you're not gonna actually the average translator, or I mean not the translator, the average reader or enjoyer, whatever you want to call it, of media, he or she isn't gonna be like, oh, I'm
She?
sorry for being a bigot. They aren't gonna be
They
actually like
psychomantis.
yeah.
My bad.
No, they're not. They're not gonna be like, oh yeah, I would definitely love to read something awkward in half translated English. No, they just want to read something that they can enjoy, that they can actually
Sure,
get
but it depends
into.
what you mean by awkward. Like,
I feel like
kotowaza, which sounds a bit odd in English, and it's a phrase that doesn't exist in English, but you're losing like the cultural value by not just translating that as it is. It might sound a little bit weird, but I mean, I don't see the problem. And I think also like the idea that the average audience wants everything to be understandable and hates any kind of ambiguity. I think that's not true. I think most people, when they're engaging with foreign media, they expect it to be and they want it to be a bit mysterious and a bit exotic.
Because I did not feel that growing up. Like I have not really wanted that exoticism, and like when I played like Final Fantasy X, like no, I have not really been desiring the Japanese exoticism.
Well, I mean,
that.
Final Fantasy X
Obviously,
is...
I wasn't a weeb at that point. I just played it because it was a JRPG and I liked those. So it depends on your market, but I will say that
Yeah.
I have some understanding for people that are not really interested in like cultural details, but I will say that I think you can introduce exotic in a way that it both teaches the audience something, but we still comprehend it at a decent level. Like maybe we don't. Like maybe we don't.
Point.
Yeah, I mean, you don't understand. I imagine like the origin or etymology of a lot of sayings in your language that might be silly if you look at them. So it's not that crazy to just say that we Japanese have a saying,
No, yeah.
And like if the context explains it, that's fine. But like,
Oh yeah.
for example, like the Japanese might just say that for example, a thing Shinimasu, it's like a person is trying to get like their university after university hired, which is like important for them. And like it just says that they're worried they might fail to get those appointments. But then I might add a little context that's saying that they're worried about that because it would freeze them out of like the employment market. So that's the little thing that I added. Probably people don't notice it, but it's a little bit of explaining detail there that both like makes it less hard to understand and explains the culture, but it's still unobtrusive. That's how an approach. You just, I mean, that's a problem with translation. It's art. You have to literally custom make every solution you do to any problem you have, because every time the actual context is different.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. I think you're right. There's lots of elegant solutions which aren't. It's not a binary of either you do it literally or you completely do it liberally. There's often an elegant midpoint sort of compromise. Yeah. Lots of compromising in translation. Lots of that.
Yeah.
It's like you also have to take into consideration that like with really big, like I'm talking about maybe companies translating big JRPGs or just like really mainstream games. They're usually under different regulations and like ways they have to do things, or maybe some sort of woke agenda mixed in there and stuff like that. So they're actually not gonna like go the true route,
Yeah, I think it's important to make that distinction between what is practical from a business perspective and in terms, or if you're talking about literally just like philosophically the ideal of translation, because they're not the same thing.
Yeah, well, of course, people will differ both in their business and the philosophical perspectives. So, like, I mean, philosophically, like, I feel like I'm trying to translate for mostly myself and maybe for my mom to be able to read and enjoy it. And, like, I don't personally care as much about anyone else, which is very autistic, but I mean, nobody paid me for this, so.
Autistic and adorable. You translate for your mum. That's
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if my mom ever
Sweet.
will read it, but like, I would want it to be something that she can read and like I
cool.
actually get.
Well,
You know,
translate the
whenever I
notes
try.
and-
I don't think
Yeah,
my parents are
whenever I
interested in reading the Rate Hentai I translate.
Yeah, I've been posed to thinking about Shinimas because like it's like a decently short and like somewhat interesting like dramatic story that a normal person might be able to enjoy. But
Mm.
maybe I'm delusional. It feels like it could potentially be read by someone that can enjoy books, but maybe not.
Yeah, I don't know. I would just try to translate, like, make something that tries to stay faithful to the source material, but it's actually fun to read because like you
Yeah.
said, you can't get to a middle ground. It just takes a little bit more work, of course.
Yeah. But often when you're talking about these things, everyone sort of agrees that there's too liberal and too literal. Like nowadays,
Yeah.
everyone looks back at like it's the example I always give, and we've talked about this a bunch of times, Zaka, in the Fua's server. So
Yeah.
you've seen me make this example. But obviously, the classic one is in Pokemon, the jelly donut thing, right? Everyone agrees that's too much.
Yeah.
Like, okay, some people might not understand. It was an onigiri, right? The actual thing.
Yeah, I just
Most
Yeah.
people might not
Rice
know what it is,
triangle.
but you don't change that. That's just dumb.
Yeah.
And everyone kind of agrees there's a point, but it's a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a bit where.
I mean, I will say that, like, if I'm going to devil's advocate, because that's the thing I do, like, that is not a particularly big or important part of the series, what food we're eating, right?
No.
So like, it didn't really destroy anything, but also, like, it feels very uneconomical, and I feel like I don't know if people really would care if it was a rightful. Like, they definitely wouldn't care now, but would they even have cared then? Like, would kids be right? I can't understand this rice thing we're eating. What could this be? Even then, like, I
I mean,
don't know if it makes sense.
kids see stuff in media they don't understand all the time. So
Yeah.
that's not unusual for them.
Okay.
Yeah, and like I mean,
Mhm.
I don't know. Like, I mean, it costs some money to to make those edits as well. Like, it's not free either. So, like the easy solution is to just do nothing there, really.
Like it was even worse though, wasn't it? Back then, didn't they sometimes change Japanese names to English names and stuff like that?
Yeah, well, I mean, you can kind of see that sometimes when like there's lots of meaning in the names. Like there's a balance there, but often I think that. I mean, even apart from that, I think even worse is like them cutting up and like censoring shows that had like guns and stuff, and like taking out a lot of episodes. I know there's like this.
The
there is
lesbian
this
stuff in
yeah.
the anime.
Yeah, there's like I think Macross early. I think is like completely massacred, as we said. I don't know if it's that serious. I think it is, but also there's this Precure series where they're taking out like half the episodes or something, and a Precure fan I know, she thinks it's absolutely horrible, and she's actually a Japanese English translator as well, and not like in any kind of a literal camp. She works officially, but she does not like that, and I completely understand, because if you take out half the episodes, yeah, what are you left with? Not the same thing.
Mm.
Okay, but what about Nukitashi, dude? That's the real that's the real brain thinkers in it.
Like-
Nukitashi, I mean, so this is like we've been talking about like nuance and finding roads sort of between liver and literal, and Nukitashi, like, opinions on it are going to be very, polarized, hating, and maybe a few people loving it. I think there are a few people that have like reserves, but see like that there might be some merit to it as well, because in reality there's a lot of jokes and puns and shit going around, and you are going to have to change a lot. But also, the editor on it was, a bit of a
Was
character,
insane.
and he did a lot of things that you could call overreach, and sometimes like it's not necessarily. I think also sometimes it's not necessarily that the idea behind the change was wrong. It's that the execution was bad, and people then will say that like the idea behind the change was wrong because the execution was bad. Like for example, in Chrono Clock. By the way, in Chrono Clock, like there's a character called DD, who is like.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's like speaks with like English words all the time, and she is pretty annoying in Japanese too, as far as I can tell, having heard voice lines and everything. And they definitely had to do something with it. But so actually, the first iteration, which I happen to know because I think someone I know is a like QC or beta tester or something, we had her speak this Gertie, I think, accent, like from the UK, like and the editor had like gone hard and researched this, and it was probably unreadable to anyone who wasn't like living very close in the UK. Eventually they were like, oh shit, we gotta change this out. So now the editor has to like edit all this dialogue again, which I imagine is part of why it's not that good. But like, and now we changed it to like a weeb interpretation, which isn't actually that insane in my opinion. But the way they did it was like they changed, unfortunately, really random words to English, to Japanese a lot of the time. And the thing about this kind of thing is that like you need to change the words that just kind of are explained by context, and a lot of the time they kind of weren't. So you had a problem with execution where we're like, people didn't get what the fuck she was saying because they were like just changing words that people wouldn't get in Japanese that weren't like the basic weeb ones or you could get from context. So I think that part of the reason people didn't like that was that the execution was bad, and I think that the execution being bad was influenced by time pressure. So there's a lot to unpack there. But like also, they let the editor just do his thing with like the weird ass UK accent that I feel was a complete non-starter for a long time. So project management also is to blame there. It's translation is complicated and the fault is distributed among many people.
It's never my fault. It's always the fault of someone else. Remember, guys.
Yep.
Remember. Yeah,
That's the
I'm
rule.
gonna blame my QCs for
True.
any big translation errors.
True. The fault is
Yeah.
of the person who last read it, dude. So the reader for not liking
Yeah, true.
it.
Oh yeah, true. It's the reader's fault for not liking it.
True. Okay.
But yeah, it's there's a lot. But still, like I think that Nukutashi needed a kind of a liberal approach with all of that. But ultimately, I think we got a bit much, and the editor, I think like the editor wasn't really expecting their work to even be released because Salt Press was literally dying and it was a trash fire at basically all times. So they probably didn't give a fuck, but in general they were like that anyway. So I don't know. It's an interesting situation.
Well, he left the visual
Yeah,
novel community, so one less problem to deal with, I suppose.
Yeah, and I should say to anyone that has little faith in official translators, I will say that the official translators I know that are specifically more so-called cartel that B might be. Though I don't know, maybe people
Me?
think B is cartel
Nah,
now.
I don't think I'm cartel, but
Yeah, I think they could be considered more cartel than you, but they
Yeah.
still were like, yeah, that guy, that editor, no, I wouldn't want to work with him. He's yeah, they were not that pleased with it either.
do you remember
So, yeah.
to be a cartel you must be diversity positive and you must be of left wing political. Oh yeah,
Right.
I wish I was joking,
That is
bro.
common. Yeah.
I mean, it's part of the requirements, and the I mean,
all right. For Chad, if you're listening to this podcast, which you aren't, but if you are, then make sure to say what you think of B, if he's cartel or not, in the next, VN thread. I'm sure you read some
oh,
still.
come the fuck on. I'm not cartel, bro. Maybe I'm in the
I
process.
don't think you're cartel.
Maybe I'm in the
but-
process of becoming cartel, but I don't think I am cartel. You see it?
Yeah, you're like shedding the skin of a fan translator, becoming the beautiful cartel butterfly.
Fuck you. I mean, I've only been working on official stuff for real, years. So, I mean, yeah, it's not even been that long. Fuck.
Alright.
Okay, leaving the baby cartel memes aside, go on. How long have we been doing already? Almost an hour, guys. Jesus.
Holy shit. Classic. We literally just went to the sidetrack and just kept going. I like it.
Yeah. I mean, it's not like I was gonna lead the episode in any certain way, but it just ended up happening, of course. Also,
I kind of just noticed it happening. I was like, maybe this is okay. Let's go.
yeah. I mean, look, man. I think going back, by the way, because I wanted to mention something. I think translator notes are almost incompatible with visual novels as a concept, right? However, recently I've seen some visual novels, like these historical ones. I would use translator notes sometimes.
I think they're more compatible with visual novels than with anime, where they're actually like been used a lot.
Oh yeah.
Because you have to pause. I mean, what the fuck? At least with a visual novel, it's already paused.
Yeah.
And if you think of something like Maitetsu, which has tons of little info bits about trains and stuff, if you want to learn about trains, it's sort of similar to that, right? So if there's a word which the translator wants to explain, you could have like a little pop-up or something. I think it could work a lot better, at least, than with anime.
Yeah, it's like it depends on the execution, I would say, because like sometimes your hackers aren't the most skilled, or the engine is just a bench, whichever it is, and you can't implement a smooth solution. And I remember the Hoshizoram no Memoria, and they literally just have like a annotation in the text of a visual novel, and then you had to open up a separate like text or HTML file, and that would have the explanation. And it's something like, tsunami means 1,000 waves, so that's why this makes sense. And I'm like, okay, bro. And that I think is maybe not optimal, and maybe you should try to do more of that. But yeah, I agree that in-game systems, like I think Clannad actually introduced one, which is also funny because they give you a tip for like disc, like cassette players, because they think Zoomers won't understand them. Which I mean, maybe you're correct. But I think it's either cassette or floppy disks that they give a tip for like what they were, because Clannad is so old by now that people might not get it.
And so bad too, by the way.
No. But yeah, they actually added that. I think the Japanese doesn't have that function with like what we call it, like a tips page where like you can look up different keywords and stuff. It's a feature even in Japanese stuff, and you can easily like appropriate that rate for your own explanations. And
I think it's actually a really good idea.
Yeah, I wish every game had
I think that can be nice.
There are some games that have that, like Crystalia games have that.
Doesn't Karano Shoujo's translation have that actually?
It does.
Yeah.
Then Miburo also has like a tip system where they explain to you the way they name things and why they name it that way. For example, back then, that shit was good, man. I wish all games had that. That was good shit.
Yeah.
I think if I remember correctly, Tokyo Necro had one like that. It was pretty cool, because it expands on the lore of the work, but it doesn't take up actual hours of the work. So you can choose to read it or not, but it still enriches your experience in a way that you wouldn't have had the chance to.
If you want to know more, buy the manga, the light novel, and the 3 magazines. Thank you for playing, guys.
Yeah. I do think that also there is like a role for external translation notes, but I think that they wouldn't be like annotations to specific points in the text, or at least not while you're reading it. I think they would be like sometimes there is a cultural element in there, but to explain it, to say that it's present would maybe be a spoiler. So for Shinimas, I'm planning to like make a culture notes that's intended to be able to be read before, so that you're like informed on certain things, and maybe one after as well for things that I literally just could not translate truly properly because there is a pronoun change in there, which is a fuck.
Learning
First
the
person
history
pronoun.
of the Chinese wall with Shinimasu.
Oh yeah, let me make sure to include that anecdote, despite it not being in the final
Yeah,
product. Because
just-
I realized.
Show the Wikipedia article of the Wall of China and you'll be good, dude.
No, but like it's things like I don't know. I actually don't remember any of the things that I would put out, but like I would put in like stuff that doesn't happen too. So like you don't know which one of these. Some of these cultural notes might apply. They might also not. So like I would try to not spoil, but you know, to give some cultural like. So people can read a short thing before and be like more culturally informed when we see it in the VN later, and I think that might be understandable, and maybe like a good thing to do. I don't know if anyone will actually read it. You know, I'm sure there will be exactly one autist that does because like I read those kinds of things, so surely there's someone like me out there. But still, it'll be things that people can read even after.
Yeah, I think a decent amount of people read it. Again, it's like
Yeah.
it fits visual novels more than anime.
Yeah, I agree.
Sorry, I was reading something. Okay.
Nice.
I'm gonna ask one more thing, and then we can wrap probably before we go insane. Which is, out of all the games of Japanese you've read, or your recent reads, what's the? Do you have to tell me like a read that had good writing, you know, for visual novel standards, in Japanese. And if you want to say it in English, that counts too. But you know, English is for plebeians, of course.
Does it have to be a visual novel?
No, if it's Japanese media, it counts too. Sure.
Okay, let's see. Fuck.
A recent read.
Yeah, it can. I mean, recent. I'm saying recent because you know we remember recent reads better than older reads.
Yeah.
Like, for example, I'm reading this
Sure.
one, this visual novel that I've been reading recently, which is The Last Cavalier from Caramel Box. I'm not done yet, but dude, it's so good. Like it actually has such good writing. It's actually insane. I'm giving it a high score just because it's well written, right? It has good art
Nice.
too, of course, but it's one of the first times that first times. It's one of those times where I felt, damn, dude, I'm enjoying this, and it doesn't feel like garbage spewed out by Japanese GPT for once.
Oh, nice.
I tell you what, I read Carnival last year, and I love Setaguchi's writing. It's just so fun, just so crazy.
And I
Oh,
love you,
nice.
man. No homo.
What do you think? What do you think about cross channel? It's very special, but people get very autistic about the prose.
Yeah, I could tell it was amazing when I read it, right? And obviously, the actual story I think is great. All the references, I mean, so many of them went over my head, and that's only going to get worse. Right? If I were to reread it now, and if someone else 10 years from now reads it, the longer time goes on, the less people are going to get any of those references, which sucks. But when I read it, my Japanese wasn't that good. I should have left it to later. But even though my Japanese wasn't very good, it seemed great. I got the impression it was really good. But no, I love Cross Channel. Yeah, love Cross
Did you
Channel.
read any Shumon also? Just
Shumon?
going through my knowledge of like prose titles that people like. Actually, I've seen like excerpts of Shumon titles. I kind of liked them. So like
I don't know.
metaphorical.
Yeah, I'm checking
Let
out
me
the
give you some
Carnival
examples of-
game, and holy shit,
Oh,
it's
let me
just,
give you
it's just
some-
letters, bro. Holy moly.
One more thing about Cross Channel. Those H scenes are really, really good.
Oh,
Really, really good
Damn.
H scenes.
now we're talking about 18 writing. Okay, baby, let's get to it.
My Japanese
so-
may not have been that good at the time, but I could tell those were good H scenes.
Okay, but
Yeah,
who has
yeah,
read
So
Homer
the
Adams?
Shumon is Shumon Yu who wrote like Itsuka todoku ano sora ni and kitto sumiwataru asiru yorimo and tenshin no hane o fumanai de. I don't know. Maybe you actually have.
I recognize the last one.
Oh yeah, I think maybe Nemesis was one reading it. You and Nemesis slightly blend together in my mind for some reason, but maybe you weren't one reading it. But
Oh no, I wasn't. I think you're right about Nem. Yeah, it looks great. Nem has good taste.
Yeah.
So yeah.
yeah,
Okay, so
I've seen some I've definitely seen some passages from this that were, they felt pretty nice, like fun metaphorical writings and
Yeah,
stuff. like that.
Tenshi no Hane Fumanai. Yeah, it's on my wish list.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I don't know if Sugio said any title that he likes. I'm trying to stall there, trying to think of something.
You've been cucking him, Saka.
No,
How could you?
I'm trying to think of something, but in Japanese, I've actually haven't had the chance to read that many actually good titles. I've mostly stuck to Moege and Nokige. I mean, I actually Baller Heart, the one I'm reading right now, is like the first actual, title I can say like, okay, yeah, this is actually something I can discuss and go on about the writing. On that note, if you're gonna go and read this, just be prepared to endure the first two routes.
No.
What comes after that, it's pure fucking cinema. But
Is it
before-
gameplay of the sky?
yeah, it's the same gameplay. It's actually
awesome.
better,
You.
Oh no way.
and it's actually got a little bit more bells and whistles that you can
Ooh.
exploit to your advantage. I'm not gonna say much more than that. It's actually pretty fun. I think it's the reason why I was able to go through the first half.
Okay,
Okay,
you
sorry,
need
I
to tell me
didn't
how to
catch
play it.
I didn't catch the title exactly.
Baldur Heart.
Baldur Heart.
Oh, Baldur Heart. Right. I will type it down in the chat.
Dude, I played that game, but I always sucked at the robots because I didn't know how the buttons worked. I just refused to
Right.
learn the controls because it was too much text, and I was like, nah, I'm not reading this. So
Yeah.
mucho texto.
yeah. So you need to teach me the mechanics, dude, one day. You need to give me some tips and tricks.
I mean, yeah, it's actually like, I'm not gonna lie. Some things I actually, since I already played Baldur's Sky, so you would figure that I would know at least the basics of the gameplay. Well, actually, as a matter of fact, I don't know if I forgot because I played it so long ago, but I was on like the third route and I discovered I could do like, okay, I can do the surge dash attack, and I had to actually dash at the same time that I actually hit the button for that command, and I had no idea about that up until that point, and I mean, it was already past the half, so. But yeah, it is confusing. It is definitely confusing, and more so whenever you have like take combos into consideration. It's kind of messy, but it's really fun.
I think it's so I think it's got more depth than most actual video games. I loved it. I thought the combat in that was fucking great.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's depth, but it's the kind of depth that most people don't bother to go into.
Sure, but that's their loss,
I mean, I felt so weird. I was pressing enter just like in every visual novel, but I kept losing, dude. I don't know what was going on.
It's not like the meme where you have like the PlayStation controller and it only has one button, and we don't do that here.
Actually, Cobra, now that Cobra's mentioned this, for once I'm gonna give Seika the W for being G's and releasing the porn patch against Giga's wishes, and just saying fuck you. Maybe that's why we won't get any more Baldur titles, but at the same time, for once I'll give the W to Seika in this
The
one.
Baldur's Sky 8 games are great. Like that they really needed to be done. Like that game, it's not a game without the H scenes.
But I mean, Baldur's Sky is good, but what about what's holy shit? It's my favorite Baldur too. What's the other one?
Force?
Baldur Force. Oh yeah, Baldur Force is my absolute favorite, bro. That game slaps.
Which one's Force?
Force is the one that came before Sky.
Force is the one that has the good opening as well. So there you go.
Yeah,
It's actually really high in EGS
Okay,
ratings.
yeah, wait. Hold on. If we're gonna go on about openings, I could go. We could have a field day here, B.
Let's not, bro. Let's not.
He has the best opening, Sugio. Come on, you have to admit it.
I mean, I'm sorry, but I am still on the second opening for Baldur's Sky. That's the best one. I'm sorry.
Oh, my dude! You are so
Damn.
absolutely, man.
Oh my god.
Both openings for Baldur's Sky are fucking honey, but the second one especially.
It's like, I'm very sorry, B, but
Nah.
we straight facts right here.
Oh my god, 2 against 1.
I'm gonna go and play Force sometime, but for now, I'll just get my fix with Heart.
Force was a stealth release as well, right? If I remember correctly. I don't know who did it. Let me see. Oh, yeah. It's not even listed officially. It's like Translation Pass by Steppenwolf. Okay, I'm sorry, dude. I apologize. Yeah, it's not even listed in the VNDB first page as well, so it's kind of cringe. But doing that aside, I heard it's decent as well. So I haven't read it in English though, so I wouldn't be able to tell you. It's better on Sky though. At least that's my brief. Okay, let me see. God, we've been 1 hour 10 minutes. Okay, we probably should cut because
yeah. I mean, you had to let me introduce my autism picks as well. So.
Of course.
Of course. Yeah, but I mean, we can cut after it. So, I have 2 things that I can think of. One I'm not as sure of. One I think is a little bit meme because I didn't read that much of it, but I did like what I saw. So, I'll say first of all the Kiedi series, which is like Kiele, is spelled for some reason. The Japanese don't know English. You know how it is. But it's a series about. I've only read 30% of the first volume, which is a lot better than the 10% that I need to get to start typing something up. But it's got just when I started reading it, I started feeling like, oh, this is not like a new light novel, which has like. This has like longer, more complicated sentences that are interesting, but also it's a bit difficult for me to read because I'm not used to it. I'm not an amazing god still.
Sorry, Saka, can you say the name of it again?
Yeah, Kiedi. So it's a Ki Chon D, like just and it has like I think Shatachi ga koe ni nomero or something. I will post both of the things I have here just as as links in the stream chat.
Oh sure.
No, it's too long for a chat. I'll post. Feels bad, man. Yeah, I can actually post the first one in the chat, I think. So this is a Kiedi, which I'm sure you'll be able to click eventually. But yeah, it's a long series of like basically it has a sci-fi background, but it's not like very high tech everything. In the background, like humanity has taken some kind of long travel ship and like established a colony on the world that Kiedis and. But they're actually in like kind of like not like kind of not very modern technology, like still like coal and shit locomotives. I think that kind of level. I don't know if we have electricity yet. I think not. So basically that level. But also in the past, as you discover soon, there were these people called immortals, shinin, that. Whereas, kind of as described, it was very hard to kill them, and there was some kind of war, I think 100 years ago, that was very devastating. And now the planet is like ruled by the church, which is perhaps not necessarily very nice.
Based.
And by the way, the character, the main viewpoint character, who is a small girl, wording not like that. She is a based atheist and can see ghosts. So both of those things.
Yeah,
however,
based an atheist, it's kind of
weird. She thinks that God has gone because God left them behind on the planet Earth when they were migrating to this planet, and it's just too far, so they can't do anything there. So that's why she thinks there's no God. It's a fun theory. It's just, I don't know. The descriptions are fun. There's a lot of actually like intense moments where ghosts come into play and fuck with stuff, and she soon meets a person who is very interesting as well. We shan't reveal what's interesting about him, but he can also see ghosts. And yeah, it can get a bit fucky for me as a reader because the Kiedi doesn't necessarily notice what a person is said to ghost from the first time, and this might not be very obvious in the narrative until something happens, and it might not be very obvious, and you're supposed to catch it, and that can be a bit tricky. But yeah, I recommend that because it just has longer sentences, more interesting wording. Just it doesn't feel like a light novel these days, even though it's produced from a light novel company.
It sounds interesting, but I just want to double check. This isn't like happening in another world or anything, is it? It's not an isekai.
Yeah, it's not isekai. It's well, I mean, it's sci-fi. It's sci-fi. Like they have went from some kind of Earth with a mothership to this world but that was a really far ago, like over 100 years, and I assume they can't get back either. So I don't know how it will unfold eventually, because there are definitely some elements, but like it's more in the sci-fi vein than in the fantasy vein, so to speak. But it's not like hard explained, so it's not hard science fantasy either. Yeah, and the other one is a little bit of a, I feel like this one is a bit predictable, but it's a Morimi novel. And it's the Tatami Galaxy, or Yojohan Shinwa Taike. It was kind of difficult to read, but I did really enjoy the wording in that one, and I think that one probably is good as well. So, but I feel like that's I didn't read that much of it, and I might be influenced by the fact that I perceive this novel as straight up cultured. So, but still, yeah, I think that one's probably cool as well. So those are the two.
Okay, so what you're saying is Musumaker's opening is where it's at, yeah?
Yeah, Musamaker is of course impossible Kamige, 100 out of 10 score. Ignore the fact that it's not on my VNDB scores. It's not there because I couldn't score it 100 out of 10. You have to understand. I have my standards.
Based and real.
Okay.
It would be disrespecting it to put it next to other VNs on your list.
Yeah, it's just true.
Okay, well, thank you for watching, everyone. It's been a long while. See you in the next episode in 6 months or something like that.
He's good, man.
Thanks to everyone for coming.
Thanks for inviting. It was fun.
Hell yeah.
Yep.
Nice.
Thanks for listening.
Let's do this again, and